Well, howdy folks, this is Little Bear and me, 2/3 of the Boondocking Bears, and today we're going to make a video about pre-launch or planning and doing the research to start a full-time RV lifestyle adventure. And I think it's wise for anybody that wants to start out and go on the road full-time to do their research and research into motor coaches, into travel trailers, fifth wheels, Class A, Class B, Class C. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And that's really the question. What are your needs? What are you trying to do? And what are your wants? For us, we love adventure. We love travel, and we want to see the sights. We have a bucket list of things we want to do, and you're going to find those out as we go along in this video. But before starting out, we wanted to do our research to know we were going to do it right. We're investing some money. We wanted to make sure it was well invested and not frivolously spent. And so really we had to analyze what it is we wanted to accomplish with this whole adventure, and hopefully it'll last a decade or more. But we had to start with research, and research into the coach, research into budgets, to the lifestyle per se, what the RV lifestyle is, into the laws. The law is different in lots of different states and in Canada versus the United States. How do we deal with mail? How do we deal with a permanent address? So there's a lot of issues at stake, but I think it all starts with analyzing what your needs are and what it is you're trying to do. And that's what we're going to do in this video, is not so much analyze solar power versus composting toilets or whatever other equipment we might need, though we need all of those things, but really analyzing how we want to live. Do we want to live out in the boondocks? Do we want to go into RV resorts? Do we want to live in campgrounds? How do we want to do this? And of course the question of budget comes up, and the answer with budget is really simple. It's whatever you've got you're going to spend, by and large. Some more responsibly than others, but there are people out there that do $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. Other people live on $1,000 a month. So it can be anything you want. I wouldn't let money be a major issue in this. It certainly has to be considered, but really, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. So sit back, enjoy. It might be a little bit of a long video. Little Bear here is quiet for once. He's usually wound up and ready to go. I might go sit on the edge of the Grand Canyon and keep him in my arms when he's quiet like this. I never know with him. So back at you in a minute. So how this all came about was really kind of by happenstance, though it was in the back of my mind in a different format. I had a hip put in a few years ago, an artificial hip, and unfortunately it got recalled within about 15 months of having it put in. So I had to have another one put in, and that kind of caused me to have to sell the business and retire. Not a bad thing. So I began surfing the net and looking at property in Florida, thinking that, well, if I'm going to be retired, I'll go down to Florida. And I was absolutely stunned at how inexpensive Florida was at that particular time. So I called my brother, who happens to live in Florida, and we began talking about acquiring a piece of property down there. And he made a very good suggestion that I didn't really know Florida that well and didn't know what part of Florida I wanted to be in, and maybe I should rent for a few years. So then I began to look at rentals, and I began to look at RVs and trailer parks and mobile home parks, because if I'm going to just rent, it's really the area that I wanted to find out about, not so much where I was living. So from that, I thought, well, why am I just going to be stationary for the season in one particular place? Why don't I move around? So then I looked at rentals and seasonal rentals versus weekly rentals versus monthly rentals. Anyway, to make a long story short, it soon became apparent that maybe an RV was the way to go. So that's how this all evolved, and I began researching the RV lifestyle and lo and behold, found out that there's about 300,000 people that are full-time RVers, and not all of them are retirees. Some people work, some are retirees, but there's a whole industry out there of people that full-time RV. So while I thought I was going to be original and had a good idea that what no one had ever thought of, well, it turns out a lot of people have thought of it. So I began to research it, and that's how it all began. And it began by identifying my needs, identifying my wants and what I wanted to do, and go from there. So that's how it all started. So now, infatuated with the idea of being mobile and on the road and going wherever I want with that independence that I crave, it came down to what kind of coach am I going to get? Well, to get that, I had to decide what it is I wanted to do. And it all started with what did I not want to give up by going on an RV lifestyle. And as some of you know, I was a professional pitmaster for a second career, and I did not want to give up Southern barbecue. Both visiting it, touring different barbecue joints, if you want to call it that, plus cooking it. I make some world-class Southern barbecue, pulled pork, brisket, ribs, chicken, and I didn't want to give that up because I love eating it. So that was the first thing I had to do, is figure out how I was going to be able to bring a smoker with me. Well, I couldn't bring my big one. I couldn't bring my residential one, but I did find a small portable one. So the first thing I had to realize in selecting a coach is I'm going to need a little bit of storage room, because there's some things I'm just not willing to give up. So I'm going to take a smoker with me, I'm going to take a hibachi with me, and I'm going to take a deadwood stove with me. And that'll do a lot of my cooking. And anything that I need to do inside on the stove, well, I'll do that too. So that's the first thing I had to do. Another of the things I'm not prepared to give up are some of the physical comforts of home. I don't think there's any reason a couch or the chairs in an RV should be any less comfortable than they are in your own home. And same with the bed. If you've ever been in an RV and tested some of the furniture, you'll know a lot of it isn't very comfortable. So I think when you're selecting your coach, you need to try out that furniture and be prepared to exchange it or change it out if you don't like it. Howdy again, folks. Well, obviously I'll be taking smokers with me and barbecues and hibachi, and I'll be doing a lot of cooking. And I love that. That's a passion. But I have other passions too, and one of them is the Civil War. And I've been studying it for about 15 years now, in depth. Been to a lot of the sites. There's some more that I want to go to, and that will be part of the RV adventure. It is one of my needs and wants. I love it. But it doesn't require a whole lot of specialization as far as the RV per se is concerned. However, there are other passions that I have, and we're going to get to those next. Okay, so aside from smoking and from following the Civil War sites and the history of that, lots of other passions I've got. Obviously travel, sightseeing, seeing the tourist places, the national monuments, etc., in both Canada and the United States. But I also have a passion for college football. So one of the things I want to do is visit all of the college football stadiums in Division I. And if there's a game on, that's even better. But certainly I want to visit every one of them and document them. That'll be fun for me. And of course, Krista likes gardening, so I will take her to the Rose Bowl. The other passion, of course, is Guy Fieri's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I gotta follow that trail and hit some of those spots. I don't know if it's going to be too healthy, but we'll try one or two and see how it is. And it's a great show. It's a lot of fun, and some of those restaurants look fantastic. But we're going to do beaches, and we're going to do national forests and state forests. Campgrounds is not really a big part of our lifestyle, and certainly not RV resorts. We are more boondocking type people, and that's really what we want to do. We want to be self-sufficient as well as we can, and boondock out in Arizona and in the West, in the BLM lands. Be as self-sufficient as we can. Have solar power, have composting toilets. Set up our rig in a way that we can be as independent and off the grid as possible. So that's a big part of it for us, and we've identified that as a lifestyle that we enjoy. We're going to plan to have a couple of scooters with us that we can take through the national parks and throw the dog on the back of our backpack or whatever we end up doing, and enjoying nature. That is a big thing for us. So that's a need, that's a want, and so we will design our rigs and our budget around that. There's lots of websites out there that have excellent budget information, and there's lots of websites with lots of resources out there. So have fun with it, but do your research. And I really do believe it starts with identifying what it is that makes you happy and what you're trying to accomplish. We're at the Alamo. You've got to remember the Alamo. So come on, let's go. So there you go, folks. That's a brief summary of our bucket list. Well, more my bucket list. But I always like to end the season in the United States by going to Mount Rushmore. It's close to Canada, and it's always a good time. So I'm heading back to Canada. It's summer up there, so I've got to dress appropriately. But I wanted to say goodbye. So, see you later, America. This is signing off from the